Hello, welcome to this presentation. My name is Juliana López, and with my peers Karoll, Cárdenas and Nohora Almeyda, we want to present you our research thesis based on the use of conceptual metaphors to teach idiomatic expressions to ELF high school students. The main idea for this research project was to find out which strategies can be more useful and successful according to conceptual metaphors to teach idiomatic expressions to sixth grade students. This research was divided in three main objectives. The first one was to highlight the importance of teaching and learning idiomatic expressions. The second one to find out which strategy can be more useful or less useful. And the third one to find what are the implications and the difficulties when teaching and learning idiomatic expressions in high school. For the development of this research, it is important to highlight that this study was conducted as a mixed method design. We got with the participation of almost 20 students of 6th grade and 2 English teachers of the same school. In order to develop this research project, it is important to say that we divide it in 5 principal steps. The first one is called the diagnostic exam. Here, the participants, the 20 students, were exposed to a test in which they had to answer some questions about idiomatic expressions in order to see if they could infer or understand the meaning of these sentences. You may ask how these sentences were chosen. Okay, it was according to the English topics of the year. The second step is called the translation method exam. In here, we taught to the students some idiomatic expressions. They were presented in English but explained in Spanish. In the third, fourth, and fifth steps, they are called follow-up exams A, B, and C. In here, we put in practice some strategies in order to teach idiomatic expressions to the students. These strategies involve some drawings, paintings, craft, reading, etc.
Hello, I'm Karoll Cárdenas, and I will give a brief presentation of the results obtained after the application of this project. As it was already mentioned, 5 exams were designed and applied, all developed in Google Forms as an easier way to check the answers and obtain the results. The first exam was a diagnostic exam designed to identify the previous knowledge the students had about idiomatic expressions. After the test that consisted on 10 idioms, the results were very low. The average grade among the whole group of participants was 1.88. These results were the lowest of the 5 exams. For the second exam, the translation method was chosen. This in order to determine if the use of Spanish to teach the idioms will make a significant difference. However, the results from this exam were still low. Even when they were higher from the ones of the diagnostic exam, the average grade was still under 3.0, which is the minimal grade to pass an exam. The grade of this second exam was 2.76. After those 2 exams, the strategies were put into practice and the follow-up exams were applied. The first strategy was to use literal images about the idioms along with some mimic representations given by the teacher. This strategy was the most successful with an average grade of 4.26. It is important to acknowledge that the topic of the classes the participants were having at the moment was parts of the body, and all the tested idioms contained at least one word related to parts of the body. This for them to understand better the idiomatic expressions. This first exam is called the follow-up exam A. Before the follow-up exam B took place, the participants were studying food. Therefore, the tested idioms all contained at least one word related to food items. The strategy applied for the second follow-up exam consisted on mimicking. However, in contrast with the first strategy, the mimic was here the only resource for teaching. The average grade that the whole group obtained was 3.5. Even when it was higher from the minimal grade, which is 3.0, it was still lower than the results obtained in the follow-up exam A. The final exam, called the follow-up exam C, consisted on idioms that contained words related to the weather, since the participants were studying the weather and the environment. The strategy used to teach these idioms was to show 2 GIFs, one showing the literal meaning of the idiom and the other one showing the real meaning. The average grade of this exam was 3.56. Only a little bit higher than the former exam. Apart from the exams, in order to highlight the difficulties the teachers have at the moment of teaching idiomatic expressions, 2 secondary school teachers were interviewed. The principal difficulties they pinpointed were: first, the language changes every day. Therefore, idioms change, and new ones are created every day too. Second, that part when we as teachers have to explain that even when sometimes idioms have similarities with dichos in our L1, which is Spanish, they have a totally different meaning in English. And third, this is a difficulty that the researchers identified. These two teachers did not coincide in the best way to teach idiomatic expressions. One of them teaches them implicitly and the other explicitly. The researchers believe this can be a general problem among English teachers. Thank you.
Finally, we would like to say that throughout the implementation of this research project, it was shown that schools in Colombia are not centered or focused on teaching idiomatic expressions, neither in primary school nor high school. Otherwise, in an attempt to give importance to this type of vocabulary when learning English as a foreign language, we put into practice 3 strategies that could work to help the students in learning idioms, and also to help the teachers to find out which strategy ends up being the most flexible, useful, and successful. It is possible to say that all the strategies seem to be worth it, but only one of them is more recommended than the other ones according to the results obtained. Following these ideas, it can be assumed that the teacher's attitude is one of the most influential factors when teaching a foreign language. Apart from this, the selection of the pictures used are very important, as it is known that information first comes through the eyes, then new input is perceived by sound. In other words, the teacher's explanation. Otherwise, the other strategies cannot be set apart, as some of their aspects can be added or mixed with strategy A. For example, the use of GIF pictures, some translation when needed, and the use of mimics when possible, etc. We can conclude that what was found in the application of the strategies and the answers obtained in the interviews, they have a lot of concordance and agree in the importance in the variety of strategies when learning idiomatic expressions. Apart from that, the teaching of these sentences should be more implemented at schools in order to keep updated the students on the advances of English as a foreign language. Lastly, we would like to say thank you for your attention, and that will be all for our presentation.